Today's Bible reading comes from the book of Mark, chapter 12, verses 28 to 34a, where the religious leaders were challenging Jesus. One of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked him, "Of all the commandments, which is the most important?" "The important one," answered Jesus, "is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbour as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these." "Well said, teacher," the man replied. "You are right in saying that God is one and there is no other but him. To love him with all your heart, with all your understanding and with all your strength, and to love your neighbour as yourself is more important than burnt offerings and sacrifices." When Jesus saw he had answered wisely, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God."
Mount Ive Station, are you on channel? Frontier Services here. I've had a puncture and I've changed the wheel and now I'm not far away. I'll see you soon. Over. Frontier Services. And the huge Park and Sturt remote area with the patrol minister, now called Bush Chaplain, is Reverend Sonny Kataparambil. Bush chaplaincy is a privilege, he says. Sonny is sorry that he can't be here today. When you know the most huge area that he needs to service, you'll understand that he can't come just to see us today. But he's grateful for support, and he's given us some details, some photographs, and I've been asked to present this because I was Sturt Patrol Minister for 8 years. I finished 5 years ago. I was starting to get a bit wobbly in the knees by then. Earlier in the year, when Beyond Morialta missions were selecting what projects to support, and the congregation made decisions about that, one of them was Frontier Services, and so we are supporting Park and Sturt Patrol through our donations. Doug has spoken of the man on the $20 note, Reverend John Flynn, and his pioneer work, and most of us know it's a very big story. His vision of mantle of safety, that's a big story too, and his concern for the people of the vast inland, a huge story, and many people over decades, over a century, involved in the work. Now, Sonny's vision for today is reaching out to others by breaking the barriers and to build the bridges. And what a refreshing contrast that is in the world we live in when we're hearing all about walls and keeping people out. So, building bridges. And the main thing is reaching out to others. That's the first thing. That vision is love, refreshingly opposite to what we often hear. This map of Australia shows in the blue the official areas of the remoteness of the areas of Australia, and it's the remoteness index. And I thought Sonny has given us this picture, and so you know how people in those areas have a long way to travel and are quite isolated from other places. This is what he says regarding bush chaplaincy. Currently, there are 13 bush chaplains that serve in remote areas, and they cover 86% of the remote areas. That's 7.5 million square kilometres. And you can imagine what a task that is, all the travelling. And together, combined, they travel 600,000 kilometres each year, supporting 15,000 families in remote areas. This shows the patrol areas, or the bush chaplaincy areas of Frontier Services. And here we see in South Australia the large area that Sunny covers, and then on the left at the bottom is the Ceduna one, where Gary Ferguson is the bush chaplain, and up north to the northwest, coming from Alice Springs, is the Centralian Patrol, ministered by Benjamin Quillam. Part of the bush chaplaincy experience is the beauty of the bush. And here's some photos from Sunny of beauty of the bush. The red sand and the amazing skies. The horses and the light through the trees. This gorgeous photo of kangaroos with the light behind them, I think that's an excellent photo, and it comes under the area of the beauty of the bush. But last weekend we were talking to a couple from well north of Orroroo, and the kangaroos at the moment wouldn't be considered part of the beauty of the bush for them, because they're eating anything that's green, and the sheep themselves too are in strife, and also their droppings are all over their garden and their veranda constantly. They're so desperate for, there's so many and they're so desperate. Now the challenges in the remote area, I'm pretty sure that Sunny doesn't have to climb a cliff like that. One of them is extreme weather, and he's got there up to 53 degrees and down to -3, and we know it can go higher than that and lower. I was once on a station for the weekend and it got to -7 overnight. That's pretty good. But I've got to tell you that in the middle of the night, as sometimes we have to do, we go for a little walk out that we don't want to go, and really the night was so cold, but it was so clear. The stars were astounding. It was worth the walk. And there's a picture of Sunny at Oodnadatta, which claiming to be Australia's hottest, driest town. A few other people compete for that. But really the heat can be life-threatening. The other challenges are drought, and as we well know at the moment, there's absolutely severe drought still in many parts of South Australia and throughout the country. Even though some people have had rain, there's severe drought. And here's some of the sheep in the drought areas. And Sunny wanted to bring our attention to the floods in North Queensland, where the drought had been so severe, and then the floods came very swiftly and severely, and the cattle, these are terrible photos, the cattle had either been drowned or they died of pneumonia in the cold. So that's another challenge in the outback. Another challenge is isolation and the long distances between towns and properties. And there's Sunny. I'm not quite sure who he's inviting to the table there, but I imagine there's nobody else there except his wife Eva. And the roads are a constant challenge too. There's the Oodnadatta track and the Stones of Arkaroola. And also, even yesterday I heard on the radio how terrible the Strzelecki track is. It's never been worse, and having been on the Strzelecki track, I know how terrible it is when it throws all the stones up onto your car and you can get a broken window. Other challenges, he says, are the lack of pure water due to mining, artesian water where the temperatures are 30 degrees C to 100 degrees, wildlife on the roads and properties, and terrible thing when you hit a kangaroo or an emu or even a wombat. Lack of basic facilities, medical, educational and social. But we heard from Doug, and we know about it, how marvellous the flying doctor is now, but it's still, people are a long way from general medical help. And another big issue is the controversy over the nuclear waste dump in the South Australian outback. The impact of these struggles, Sonny says, is the financial crisis, mental stress and depression, suicidal tendencies and suicides for some, breakup of family relationships, decreasing the employment rates, depressed regional economy, declining population numbers. And I have to say here too, like us, who need to be resilient in our own challenges, the people of the outback that live in the outback and those who are bush chaplains and helpers, they need resilience too. And there's a lot of resilient people in the outback, but there's a lot of challenges. And he says that bush chaplaincy focuses are, the first one is practical support. And in that, they're building relationships so they're trusted. And in a moment, we'll have a look at the practical support that's being offered in the Park and Sturt Patrol, and probably others too. Then there's a moral support and spiritual support. Now, the practical support is that which is Sonny takes work parties to the outback, and here they are at Coburn, right on the border of South Australia and New South Wales. And there's the hotel, which is a central place for people to come in from the stations. And also, I think they've got the post office there now. And in Coburn, they were working on various projects. There's quite a gang of volunteers. And there's Sonny and someone else, and they are fixing the shelter that's in the little caravan park there. Only a few people live at Coburn. There they are fixing the same sort of area. Here they are, some of the gang, doing renovations on the toilet block. And that's what it looked like when they'd finished. And there's the little shelter that's in the caravan park, all renovated. And I can tell you it was pretty bad because I once did a Christmas service in that shelter, and I'll tell you what, I thought it felt like the manger. Then they went on to Manor Hill. Now, they did not renovate that beautiful railway station. That was renovated just a few years ago by the local policeman and one of the men from the mining area. And so that's a real icon if you're travelling up the Barrier Highway. The trains go past, but they don't stop there. And here's some photographs of some work being done on a home there that was in pretty bad condition and no hope of getting it done themselves. And there they are working to put up a patio at the back and a walkway. And that's what it looked like when they'd finished. And there's Sonny standing there. That was doing some painting inside. And there's somebody that some of you know, Ashley Davis. He was up there too, the Rural Minister's support person. It looks like he's in the hall doing a bit of a clean-up. They changed the flooring cover. Here they are building a very simple carport. They painted the front of the hotel. Now the hotel is a museum as well and the post office. And so they painted the front of that. Here's some of the food that was offered. Now Sonny and his wife Eva provided some food for the work parties, and there was a lot of camaraderie there, a lot of fun and fellowship, and the few locals that live at Manor Hill joined in too, and it was uplifting for them. There they are having some food and fellowship and fun. And the emphasis is on fun. And I would have bought my frog hat if I'd have been game, because that's a symbol of fun for me for Frontier Services, but I thought I wouldn't. At Manor Hill, one of the women who'd been helped, the woman with the house, wrote this: "The motto of Frontier Services, standing with people in the bush, is so true. We are grateful. And the main qualifications," she said, apart from, we know, the skills needed by the volunteers, are fun, food and fellowship. And a local young man who joined in the work party said he felt like one of the team. And he later wrote to Sonny, "I have a renewed outlook on life and people in a positive way after this. My faith in humanity has been restored. The work done has been needed for 2 decades, and my words fail to explain the emotions of this wonderful experience." And on the road, changing tyres, Sonny says it's not rare to meet people on the road waving for help with car breakdowns, but numbers were really high this last summer. There were days when I helped with up to 5 tyres, including my own. I met a couple from Germany who were in trouble with their 3rd puncture on the same day on an isolated dirt road. The lady was clearly upset in the scorching heat and said with tears, "I just want to get out of here." There are 2 cars in this picture. The other car contained another young couple from Europe. And when they fixed some issues on that car too, Sonny and Eva invited the young couples into their van for some food, refreshments and chat. It would have been a wonderful experience for those young people from Europe. Now here is Sonny through Frontier Services and the church making contact through baptism. Sonny says, "My main concerns are the drought and mental health issues." Here he's having a chat around with some guys. He says, "How can you support the outback and reach out to those in need? Financially, by donations and bequests; practically, as a volunteer; spiritually, by thoughts and prayers." He says, "I'm convinced that bush chaplaincy is not a work. It's a different way of life, or it's a different feeling, driving long distances, giving a hand with almost anything. But the important thing is to listen to the hearts of people. That moment is divine and rewarding too. It's not like a 9-to-5 job. It's different." And he says, "We are so fortunate to have this great support from South Australia Synod and congregations. There are more work parties being arranged and other plans too. By promoting Frontier Services, we get the word around, also getting more people to join with hands with us." Our Bible reading today spoke of that which is most important: love God, love your neighbour as yourself. And Sonny finishes with these words from 1 John chapter 3. "Let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and truth." Thank you all from Sunil Sonny Kataparambil, Bush Chaplain in Frontier Services, Sturt remote area. Amen.